Okay, let's talk about, first of all, everybody should do everything they can to get the vaccine, get the booster, wear masks, practice safe distancing. I think we all agree with that. Second, unfortunately, this virus is insidious. We know that. It keeps on changing and morphing into something new, unfortunately, and we're trying to all figure out how to manage this and try to figure out how to manage this in the work world, our personal life, right? So it's important to create a balance. As for who got sick, I don't know who got sick last week. I don't know if they were vaccinated, not vaccinated. I don't know. But I do know in general, I know numerous people who've been vaccinated, have the boost. I just got off the phone with somebody I know, the whole family, and they still received it. So there is no assurances, but we all need to do everything to take as much precaution as possible to be safe, right? And secure. This is all about one thing that we're concerned about. The concern is this: the city of Providence is a great city. It's important that it stays safe and clean and people feel comfortable living here at all different levels, right? Visiting, living, raising their family. Well, when in this particular case where the mayor is looking to do a mandate that if you're not vaccinated by Friday and has the potential that he will be firing close to 70 police officers, well, now you have a problem where now you've jeopardized public safety overall. The city cannot go without any type of policing, that type of officers on the beat protecting our citizens. So this is about reassuring the people of Providence and our visitors that we're going to do our part to make sure the city is still safe. Now, how do we do that? Now, if the mayor does want to do a mass firing, well, then he needs to first do one thing. First, he needs to, with this ordinance, come to the council and seek authority. Second, he needs to put forward a plan on how he's going to manage the mass firing of police, fire, or any other department in city government. And then how does it impact the city services, in this case, public safety. So it's about a combination of yes, protecting the health, but also the safety and welfare of the people of Providence and the visitors. So the mayor cannot just unilaterally, and I'll say it before, it reminds me when a former mayor fired all the teachers way back when. And what happened is then he had to backtrack and rehire them because he didn't think it out. What's the plan after you do a mass firing? So this is about putting a checks and balances on that type of action, which, by the way, puts the public safety and welfare in jeopardy. So majority of my colleagues, myself, are taking this serious. So we're trying to be proactive. And the proactive measure is this: if you are looking to do a mass firing of 70 police officers come Friday, well, then you need to come forward with a plan on how you're going to manage the city in a safe and secure way. And by the way, that's just not a question that needs to be answered to me and my colleagues, but to the people of Providence. They have a right to be safe and secure in the city, the businesses, our visitors, our friends, our families, and loved ones. So that's what this is about. Now, whether the impetus is this point in time because the mayor is saying a vaccine mandate, or could be something else another time. But at this point in time, we need to make sure what's the plan if you so choose to do a mass termination. And the people have a right to know. I would think everybody in Providence and everybody who visits and everybody in the state wants to know if there's not going to be any police come Saturday morning. I know in my neighborhood, they want to know that.
How many votes do you have for the ordinance?
You have to speak a little bit louder.
No worries. How many votes do you have for the ordinance?
We have more than the majority.
And obviously it's no easy feat to pass an ordinance, and this is a quick deadline. It's Friday. What do you hope happens?
Well, what we hope to happen is, in order to hopefully bring some kind of common sense, reasonableness to be applied to this situation, right? So what will happen is it's a checks and balances by the legislative branch of government when it sees, in this case, the executive branch doing something, in this case, potentially not somewhat reckless and jeopardizes public safety. So with that, the council would meet on Friday. We have a right to meet, of course, do emergency meetings, which we will. We are sending a message that the mayor needs to now address this. Now, let me say, if the mayor plans on not doing a mass firing on Friday, then I welcome him to state it to the public, to our constituents, and to all my colleagues. But to this day right now, that's their plan. So I hope they don't, but we're better off to be proactive in this particular situation than reactive. The last thing we all want to know is come Saturday morning, 70 police officers have been fired, and there's no one walking the beat in our neighborhood. So we're being proactive, and we're being part of the solution trying to solve a potential problem.
What percentage of the police force is that 70 that are in jeopardy?
What percentage of the police force, I'm sorry,
So
speak.
those 70 police officers, what percent do they make up in the Providence police force?
That's roughly almost 25% of the police force.
Council President, what do you have to say to, one of the arguments that the mayor makes is that this isn't that different from when the state had a mandate, firefighters had to get vaccinated, they didn't want to do it, and then at the last minute they finally did. Do you think that that could happen here if we stuck to this mandate?
Well, I think the mayor is mixing apples and oranges. As you know, the state hasn't mandated the state police or any other police department in the state of Rhode Island. Now, when we're talking about fire personnel, it's a little bit different. They're considered and qualified as a healthcare providers, right? So they have to have an EMT certification. So part of that EMT certification is this additional vaccination. So that was that process. So it's a little, it's apples and oranges, and it's a different conversation.
Would you be open to the mayor maybe delaying the deadline, pushing it down the road a little bit, but keeping this mandate in place?
We are open to anything that makes the city safe and secure and turns down the concerns that my constituents, my colleagues, and the people of Providence have that there may not be a police force come Saturday morning. So whatever he can do to do that, to alleviate those fears and those concerns, we welcome. But it's important, I think, the concern is that we have to make this position, we have to make these moves in a responsible manner to be proactive, because no one I've spoken to wants to take the chance that they don't. We don't know what they plan on doing or not doing. It's a secret. If it's not a secret, I hope they tell all of you tonight and they alleviate all our fears. But the council has to keep moving forward with this in order to, unfortunately, to uncover whatever the secret is and what their plan is come Saturday morning. But we're going to do it now, not wait till Saturday.
Have you spoken to any of the vaccinated officers? Have they maybe talked to you about this concern?
I have talked to the administration, I've talked to the folks involved, and let me just say that I wouldn't be here today, and my colleagues would not be sponsoring this today, if our fears, our concerns were not alleviated. And since they're not, that's why we're here.
And so, like, have they talked to you maybe about why they decided not to take the vaccine?
Just say it, I'm sorry, say it this loud.
Have any of the unvaccinated officers that you've spoken to, have any of them said to you why it is that they decided not to take the vaccine?
For me, I don't know why they're being vaccinated or not vaccinated. That's not the issue. For me is that if any time an executive branch wants to do any type of mass firing, for whether it's in vaccinated or whether you have the right color car or whether you have the right color uniform, the question is, this is about mass firing. The question is, there has to be accountability, and if an administration is floating that balloon out and telling people he's going to fire people come Friday, well, then he needs to have a plan on how he's going to manage the city in order to make sure public safety and welfare is protected. That's what this is about. Now, if they come forward, I don't know. We're not into the minutia of why someone will or will not. But there has to be a plan, and I'll give you an example. If for the sake of conversation he follows through and he fires 70 police officers come Friday, well, then he needs to have a plan on how he's going to address losing 70 officers. Is he going to contact the National Guard? Is he going to contact the state police? Does he have 70 officers who are coming out of retirement who are willing to walk the beat again? I don't know. But the fact that I don't know, and you don't know, and the people don't know, that's the issue, and that's the problem.
Why schedule this vote for that day that it goes into effect? Were you hoping the mayor would go back on his original plan?
What we're hoping to do is we're giving deference, right? Instead of being reactive, waiting for Friday to happen to see what happens, right? So here's the question. You're a police officer, or you're a family member who's related to a police officer. So now you're waiting till next Friday, this Friday, to find out whether or not you have a job or not. Your family, your friends. My neighbors are waiting to find out if Officer so-and-so is going to be walking the beat come Saturday morning. So the question is, should the people of Providence have to go through those types of stressful machinations because someone's trying to prove whatever issue they're trying to prove? No. And let me say something, folks. This COVID has been extremely stressful for all of us, right? We're not out of the woods yet. It's serious business, right? And this is the type of situation where government should be trying to alleviate the stress and trying to make things work better for all of us. Instead, this particular proposal policy the mayor is implementing, or is willing to implement, is creating more stress, more strain on the public's concern, public psyche, and how people feel about living in the city. So we need to turn it down, show that there's some rational, reasonable leadership downtown, and that we won't let it happen, that if he was looking to do it, he has to be accountable to do it and explain to the public. Now, if the public says, fine, fire 50% of the police force, then it's up to the public to say, weigh in that story, right? But at this point in time, I haven't met the public willing to do that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you need 2 votes to get that ordinance through, and the mayor could veto. You've got this scheduled for Friday. Even if you do get it passed, would it actually be able to stop any firings from happening on Friday?
Well, that's why we put what they call a clawback clause in the ordinance. Take a look at it, it's towards the end. It addresses that very issue.
Do you have a message to those unvaccinated police officers?
Well, the message is we want them to all participate. Listen, we want them to get vaccinated. We want them to be safe and sound, right? But I also have to measure that we don't want to put public safety in jeopardy. We also have to respect all our frontline workers, by the way. You know, during a year ago, the height of it, when there was no vaccinations enough, people weren't necessarily wearing masks or taking precautions, and yet these men and women were putting their life on the line while we were all sitting home protecting us. So I think we should give a little deference. I think we need to open up the channels of communication with the union leadership, talk to the members, see what we can do to help get them to that point. It's about working with people, not working against them, whether it's using incentive measures or whatever it takes. So that, I think, would be the more rational, reasonable path to take. Not threatening your job at this time, especially a public safety individual who puts this public's safety in jeopardy.